and what I gave away, and...
Just 1 week later, Brett received a package in the mail.
It says from the Texas Rangers, and then we opened it, and I shut my eyes, and my mom started screaming, and I opened my eyes. I got all excited when I saw it.
Nolan Ryan enclosed an 8x10 autographed photo.
So, Brent, sorry you didn't get a card. Best wishes, Nolan Ryan.
The card was worth about $1,500. The photo is priceless.
And now he's got something that's probably better than that, but there's no price on it because it says to Brent.
And Brett got something else as well. He got to watch his hero pitch in a game. I'm Sarah James, and this is NBC Nightside, a production of the NBC News Channel in Charlotte, North Carolina.
A clean sweep for Clinton despite a strong showing by Tsongas in Tuesday's primaries. And Yasser Arafat is found alive hours after his plane goes down in the Sahara.
This is NBC News at Sunrise with Ann Curry.
Good morning, I'm Paul Majors for Ann Curry. We'll have more on the Yasser Arafat story in just a moment, but first, the Bill Clinton bandwagon got a big boost Tuesday, while Paul Tsongas' strong showing may be giving him second thoughts about his suspended candidacy. Primaries were held in Kansas, Wisconsin, and New York, and all three states were very good to the Arkansas governor. Clinton got 41% of the vote in the all-important New York primary, but Tsongas was a surprisingly strong runner-up with 29%. Clinton got better than half the votes in Kansas, with Tsongas again edging Jerry Brown for runner-up. And in Wisconsin, it was Clinton edging Brown 38 to 35%. Lisa Myers, who's been covering the bruising New York primary, and I think that's a fair assessment, is with us this morning. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Brutal is the right word, I think. It was another big night for Clinton, but he leaves here with more scars and plenty to worry about for the fall.
I love Wisconsin and Minnesota and Kansas, and I really love New York.
In the end, New York wasn't that close. A key reason, Jewish voters who went overwhelmingly for Clinton, partly because of Jerry Brown's selection of Jesse Jackson as a running mate. Even in victory, though, New York voters sent Clinton some troubling messages. 76% of those who voted for other candidates said they would vote for President Bush in the fall rather than Clinton. And almost half the voters, Democrats, say they think Clinton lacks the integrity to be president. Jerry Brown had a tough time explaining his third-place finish. Putting Jackson on the ticket clearly backfired. It killed Brown in the Jewish community and didn't keep Clinton from carrying the black vote. Still, Brown vowed to keep fighting to the convention.
I have just begun to fight. We have just begun to fight.
Paul Tsongas pronounced his second-place showing impressive and said he'll decide later this week whether to re-enter the race.
No, the spoiler issue remains. I'm not in this business to be a spoiler.
Regardless of what Tsongas decides, it looks virtually impossible for anyone to deny Bill Clinton the nomination at this point. He may be limping, but he's so far ahead, no one can catch him. Paul?
All right, Lisa, thank you very much. Tuesday's results leave Clinton with a clear lead in delegates, better than half the number needed for the Democratic nomination, and more than twice as many as runner-up Paul Tsongas. President Bush easily won Tuesday's Republican primaries in Kansas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. He now has 963 of the 1,105 delegates he needs for renomination. Getting back to our other top story, Yasser Arafat has reportedly turned up alive and well only hours after his plane disappeared during a sandstorm in the Libyan desert. Martin Fletcher is standing by in Tel Aviv with more. Good morning, Martin.
Paul, good morning. After 15 hours of high tension, an American satellite spotted Arafat's plane ditched in the Sahara Desert. The Americans then directed rescue planes to the spot. A PLO official said he spoke to Arafat and that apart from a few minor cuts and bruises, the Palestinian leader was fine. They'd crash-landed in the sandstorm and then sat it out. It really does appear that Arafat is a cat with 9 lives, another boost to his reputation as the ultimate survivor. But the ordeal does pinpoint one major problem the PLO has. There's no clear successor to Arafat. All the celebrations among Palestinians here now reflect that. there's nobody to replace the man they call the father of the Palestinian revolution. The two obvious contenders are both dead. Abu Jihad, assassinated by Israel, Abu Iyad, assassinated by the Palestinian breakaway Abu Nidal. So amid the celebrations today, there's a lesson that Arafat must ensure a smooth transition for when he finally does move on. Paul?
Martin, but for American technology, is it likely that Arafat and the plane would have been found?
I think so, Paul. Yes, it would have taken a lot longer, of course. The search went mostly on through the night, so that was a problem. It was dark. There was a major sandstorm with very strong winds. The sandstorm was finally blowing over this morning, so the satellite sped it up, but certainly over a period of time, the rescue planes would have found Arafat because they knew more or less where his plane had crash-landed.
Thank you very much, Martin. Pleasure. Well, with both sides under fire over the perks of office, lawmakers have fired another shot at the White House. Congressional auditors complained that taxpayers picked up the tab for personal and political trips by administration figures. Jim Miklashevsky reports.
Democrats released a detailed report of the use of government aircraft by President Bush and his cabinet. It includes Bush's chief of staff, Sam Skinner's travel when he was still transportation secretary. In a 16-month period, it lists 7 private or political trips Skinner took on government planes, some to join Bush in GOP fundraising events. But 3 trips were for golf outings with Vice President Dan Quayle. That includes a 5-day coast-to-coast political golfing boondoggle from Washington to Williamsburg, Virginia, to Los Angeles, to Denver, and back home. To make the trip official, Skinner squeezed in a meeting with Los Angeles airport officials. That means the taxpayers pick up a big part of the tab.
We no longer can tolerate that, nor can we afford it.
The White House points out that Republicans picked up the tab for the political portion of the trips, but under current rules, that comes nowhere near the actual cost. Congress, under fire itself for abuse of privileges, says it will now rewrite the laws to clamp down on executive branch perks and try to turn some of that voter anger away from Capitol Hill and on to the White House. Jim Miklashevsky, NBC News, the White House.
We'll have more news, Joe Whitty's weather, and the day in business after this.
Right now, IBM is going beyond conventional computing by pioneering a way to touch millions of lives.
Raise, blow, you cataract. They love the hands-on stuff.
Information becomes something with an imagination.
IBM Multimedia.
You can touch so many emotions with pictures and colors and sounds.
It's really wonderfully exciting.
Images are changing at JCPenney because the Hager Week sale lets you save on our entire line of dress and casual wear. It's a sale that can update your look, sharpen your style, or add a little punch to your personality. With Hager Fashions at JCPenney Values. So try a new image on for size at the Hager Week sale.
Yeah, how far away do you think I can get in 72 hours?
I wouldn't trust my car past the city limits.
For the way you travel today more than ever, the Smart Money is on budget. Now at Budget, get a Lincoln or minivan with unlimited mileage for just $199 per week. The Smart Money is on budget.
Stock prices plunged yesterday. The Dow Jones Industrials tumbled nearly 62 points. And looking ahead to today's market, here's the Wall Street Journal's Tom Herman. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Paul.
What's happening overseas in the financial markets?
Stock prices are dropping again in Europe. They're down nearly 1% in Britain and in Germany, and they're off more than 1% in France. That follows another 3.5% plunge overnight in Tokyo. Japanese stock prices now, Paul, are down nearly 56% from where they were just at the end of '89.
What about American stocks?
They're down too, but not as much this morning. Most major issues are off only about 1/4 to 1/8 of a point. One exception is General Motors. GM is up 1/8 of a point to 38. because investors are encouraged by a management shakeup.
And we need an expert like you to tell us what to watch for today. What should we be looking for?
Interest rates. Some people are saying the Federal Reserve may be on the verge of another interest rate cut. The economy still looks very weak, so the Fed may push rates down another notch.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Let's
Thank you,
turn
Paul.
to Joe Whitty and the weather. You say spring is moving across the country.
Yes, indeed, Paul. Thanks to our friend the jet stream overhead, we've got a flow of warm air covering most of the country, and you can see it on the satellite photograph. Most everything moving from west to east. Nothing really plunging out of Canada, bringing cold air. So it's mild Pacific air moving across the country. Weather-wise, that means a band of some light showers from Oregon, almost due eastward towards the Great Lakes. Most of those will be on the light side. Brief showers here in the East Coast. Strong thunderstorms possible this afternoon in Oklahoma. Temperature-wise, everybody's seasonable to above seasonable. We'll see Phoenix go into the 90s, so spring is definitely just around the corner. That is my national weather. Now here's what's happening in your neighborhood. For Phoenix, 91 by this afternoon. Turn on the air conditioners. 84 degrees in Miami. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 53 degrees. Not bad for this time of the year. Chicago, 59. Seattle, also 59. Here in New York, some morning showers, then a mild afternoon high of 66 degrees. Just a few more minutes, more details on traveling delays. Paul?
All right, Joe, thank you very much. In baseball, it's the same old story for Tom Glavine and the Braves. The sports report is next after this.
Please, if you don't have the right pruning tools, don't go near your plants. Go to a True Temper Pruning Center. You'll find the proper tool for every job, plus helpful tips that tell you how and when to prune. See the True Temper Pruning Center where you buy tools, because the right True Temper tools can make a big difference.
Let me get this straight.
When you got me to switch from AT&T, I gave you a list of my friends and my family.
Then I give you the names and numbers of my friends and my family.
Then he wants the names and numbers of my friends and my family. I don't want to give those out.
At AT&T, your friends are your business. Keeping you connected to them is ours. So if someone wants the names of your friends and your family, simply say,
It's just not worth it.
It's just not worth it.
It's just not worth it.
If you want a truck that's quick, if you want a truck that's the latest style, if you want a truck that's the best looking, see your Vikingland GMC truck dealer. If you want a truck that's a great value, if you want an all-wheel drive family van, now get cash back or GMAC finance rates as low as 6.9% APR on select models. Then be sure to see your Vikingland GMC truck dealer today.
Each spring, robins work hard finding new homes. But this year, the Robin family found an easier way. They flew to Super America and picked up a spring preview guide. The preview has hundreds of new homes with features to make 90s living easy and more comfortable. And when you select a preview home, you can move right in. The 1992 spring preview. Finding a new home any other way is, well, for the birds. Pick up your free preview guide today at any Super America.
In sports, Cy Young Award winner Tom Glavine and the Atlanta Braves are picking up where they left off last year.
Glavine opened Atlanta's season last night by pitching a two-hitter, giving the National League champs a 2-0 victory over Houston. In Los Angeles, Darryl Strawberry blasted his first homer of the year, powering the Dodgers past San Francisco 3-0. In Philadelphia, Lynn Dykstra robbed Sammy Sosa of the Cubs, but later learned he suffered a broken wrist when hit by a pitch. The Cubs beat the Phils 4-3. St. Louis bombed Brett Saberhagen and the Mets, while Cincinnati stopped San Diego. In the American League, Texas left fielder Kevin Reimer made the catch of the night, helping Kevin Brown blank Seattle 4-0. The White Sox slugged California, and the Yankees beat Roger Clemens and the Red Sox. In the NBA, the Chicago Bulls set a franchise record with their 62nd win of the season. They mauled Milwaukee 116-101. Detroit defeated New York, Boston beamed Cleveland, Atlanta jolted New Jersey, and Miami whipped Washington. Jerome Kersey hit the shot of the night to boost first-place Portland past Golden State 110-101. Seattle slew the Lakers by 29. The Clippers were 7 points better than Minnesota. Phoenix edged Sacramento. Utah topped Denver. Houston beat San Antonio by 3, and Orlando shook Charlotte by 25. And in his debut as a 3-year-old, Arazi, the favorite to win next month's Kentucky Derby, breezed to a 5-length victory in France.
National Hockey League President John Ziegler says the season will be canceled if the players don't accept the latest offer from the owners by tomorrow. The Stanley Cup players were supposed to start tonight, and that's sports. More fuel-efficient cars may be around the corner, but as you might expect, drivers will have to pay for it. Researchers say it's possible that within 15 years, American cars can average 37 miles per gallon. But the National Research Council admits there may be higher sticker prices and slightly higher safety risks. The news continues in just a moment. You're watching NBC News at Sunrise.
Later this morning on Today, the winners and losers of Tuesday's primaries.
We'll talk with Jerry Brown, Bill Clinton, and Paul Tsongas about what's ahead.
Join us later this morning on Today.
Each spring, robins work hard finding new homes. But this year, the Robin family found an easier way. They flew to Super America and picked up a spring preview guide. The preview has hundreds of new homes with features to make 90s living easy and more comfortable. And when you select a preview home, you can move right in. The 1992 Spring Preview. Finding a new home any other way is, well, for the birds. Pick up your free preview guide today at any Super America.
Watch Paul Douglas on KARE 11 News.
Here are some of the stories we're following this Tuesday morning on NBC News at Sunrise. A primary sweep for Bill Clinton, a hot dispute about a cold medicine, and a power struggle in the Black Sea. Lisa Myers-Reed joins us now to talk about yesterday's primaries and what's still to come in this presidential election year. I guess the first question should be, is the nomination now a lock for Bill Clinton?
About as close as it can be. The only person who could deny the nomination to Bill Clinton at this point is probably Bill Clinton. It would take the political equivalent of a cataclysmic event to keep him, I think, from winning on the first ballot.
Jerry Brown's association with the Reverend Jesse Jackson hurt him here in New York, as you reported earlier, among Jewish voters. Why did it not attract black voters to Brown's campaign?
Well, it may have helped him some among black voters, but the black leadership, other than Jesse Jackson, has been with Bill Clinton all along. Bill Clinton has a very strong civil rights record. He did very well among black voters in the South, and I think there is a real history there of Bill Clinton with black voters that Jerry Brown could not overcome, even with Jesse Jackson by his side.
And Paul Tsongas, it's sort of like the old To Tell the Truth show. Will the real Paul Tsongas please stand up or just stay seated? What's going to happen here with him?
Well, I don't think Paul Tsongas knows this morning what's going to happen. He has been all over the lot in the last 48 hours. First, it looks very likely that he will be in. Then he's not going to be in unless Jerry Brown wins New York, which he didn't. And now Paul Tsongas says, well, you know, I made an impressive showing and I have to think about it all. I think when the cold reality of day, he's going to look at the situation, know that it's mathematically improbable, if not impossible, that he could catch Clinton and decide not to get in. But he has not made that decision.
When might he make that decision? Do we really have any idea?
He says Thursday or Friday. He's going to talk to people. He's going to look at the numbers. The fact is that Paul Tsongas had money problems, but the main reason he got out of the race is that Bill Clinton beat him fair and square. And there is nothing that has changed that is going to change that reality.
So he would still have money problems if he came back into the campaign for the nomination?
Well, he says no. He says he's had a lot of pledges of money, but the calendar really doesn't work in his favor. Pennsylvania is a state which really favors Bill Clinton demographically. In fact, the only state coming up which looks good for Tsongas and his upscale suburban constituency is really California.
None of the above will not appear on the ballot, but we have a graphic I think we can take a look at right now, and that demonstrates people's dissatisfaction with the Democratic candidates. You can see it in all four states right there. Bill Clinton, people still dissatisfied with him, as you reported in your piece earlier. His electability in the fall, that's certainly got to be an issue for the Democrats.
Oh, absolutely. Bill Clinton is a little like a gunslinger who has survived a gunfight. He's the only man standing, but he has all these gaping wounds. What we don't know is whether these wounds can be healed or whether they're fatal.
And I guess what happens next? Where do we go from here?
Well, for the next 48 hours, the process is probably frozen because until we see what Paul Tsongas is going to do. Bill Clinton will go to Peoria today to express solidarity with the Caterpillar workers. He'll then go on to Pennsylvania, and then he's going to be down for a few days. He's exhausted and he's lost his voice, so we're going to have a little bit of a break.
Well, it was certainly a big fight here in New York.
Absolutely.
Lisa Myers, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll have more news, Susan Lee on business, and Joe Woody's weather when we come right back. Another big primary night for Bill Clinton tops our news this morning. The Arkansas governor closed in on the Democratic presidential nomination with primary victories in New York, Kansas, and Wisconsin. Jerry Brown ran a close race in Minnesota's beauty contest primary, but had to settle for third place in New York behind inactive candidate Paul Tsongas. Clinton called for party unity.
Every vote for Jerry Brown was a vote that recognized the power of technology through his first derided and now respected 800 number, that the power of technology can give dignity to ordinary people. Every vote for Paul Tsongas tonight was a vote for change, a vote that...
Republican voters made President Bush a winner in Minnesota, Kansas, and Wisconsin yesterday, but the protest vote was strong in Minnesota and Kansas. All 100 of New York's GOP convention delegates went to the president because challenger Pat Buchanan failed to get on the ballot. A House subcommittee gets a dose of medicine today. Robert Hager says the panel will be taking a close look at the effectiveness of a popular cold remedy.
Antihistamine is a major ingredient in many over-the-counter cold remedies. But now the congressman whose subcommittee oversees the Food and Drug Administration claims antihistamines may not work against colds, may only relieve the symptoms of allergies and not colds. In an allergic reaction, pollen causes the nasal passages to release histamine, which in turn causes runny nose, congestion, and sneezing. But when the same symptoms are caused not by a pollen and histamine, but by a cold, some scientists believe an antihistamine does little or no good, and that whatever relief there is comes only from other ingredients in the remedy. The subcommittee chairman, Congressman Ted Weiss.
They're being hyped, they're being sold to the public, not on the basis that they're great for allergies, but they're being sold because they're supposed to be great for reducing the symptoms of cold. The American people are being separated from their monies while they're keeping their colds.
But not everyone agrees with Weiss on this one. There are conflicting studies, and a lot of ordinary cold sufferers who believe antihistamines do help. Today's hearing before a House subcommittee will try to sort out the evidence. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
Ukrainian President Leonid Kravchuk has stepped up his country's dispute with Russia over the former Soviet fleet in the Black Sea. Kravchuk accused Russia of treating Ukraine like an enemy and defended his own moves to take control of the fleet. Boris Yeltsin issued his own decree claiming Russian control. Ireland's emotional debate over abortion is a long way from over. Voters may be going to the polls for as many as 3 separate referendums to decide the future of abortion policy in their country. Details from Margaret Larson.
The abortion ban will remain in force in Ireland. The referendum will decide whether women have the right to travel abroad for abortion services and the right to counseling programs within Ireland. The issue brought thousands into the streets earlier this year when a 14-year-old Irish rape victim battled all the way to the Supreme Court for the right to an abortion in Britain.
Herself and her family should be able to deal with this problem quietly and in private as best they can.
Public opinion polls indicate 2/3 of the Irish population want their abortion laws, the most restrictive in Europe, changed or eliminated. The Irish Prime Minister had hoped to avoid another divisive abortion vote. He wanted to settle it within the European community. But overnight, Ireland's European partners decided they want no part of this fight. So there's no choice now but at least one new referendum on the most explosive topic in Irish Catholic society, one that could rekindle February's open hostilities. The government can only hope the vote will come off peacefully this time around. Margaret Larson, NBC News, London.
When we return, economist Susan Lee on congressional perks and Joe Whitty with the weekend weather.
Want to run your windowing software fast? Then you need a real power source inside. A source that can generate the power your software needs. The affordable Intel 486. Power it up and run your software at light speed. Intel, the computer inside.
Can you tell me where I can get cash with this?
You go down this way and you make a right.
Cash?
You know, the thing is, with that card, I don't know where. That's the problem.
Looking for cash without MasterCard isn't exactly easy.
And there's a closet store there. Now, you go through that corset store, they don't buy.
But with MasterCard, you can get cash just about anywhere at nearly 200,000 bank branches and 60,000 ATMs. So count on MasterCard and master the moment.
Dirt road.
You'd rather walk than drive an American car. You think no American car can match the quality of an import. You figure if it isn't foreign, it isn't for you. You wouldn't give an American car the time of day. Well, in case you haven't noticed, times have changed. Introducing the new Skylark. This is the Buick that's going to change a lot of impressions about Buick.
The Easy Spirit Color Playoffs. The Golds versus the Patents. The Easy Spirit Shock Blocker Pumps.
There really is a sneaker inside these little pumps.
Now, when you buy Easy Spirit shoes, you'll get a free simulated pearl necklace. And you can also register to win a strand of real pearls. Hurry, this special offer ends soon. Join the Easy Spirit Pearl Hunt today. Call for the store nearest you.
Several bills have been introduced in Congress to curtail congressional perks like international fact-finding missions. Many say they're just expensive boondoggles. Joining us now is economist Susan Lee of the American Enterprise Institute. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Paul.
Now, is Congress serious about this? We have to qualify this by saying it's an election year, so is this just rhetoric?
That's exactly right. One never knows about Congress. They ought to be serious, though, because regular citizens, such as we all, are find some of these perks very offensive. For instance, free health care, free gym use in the basement of the buildings. There are lots of subsidized things like subsidized restaurants. The stationery store sells, you know, that gold pen, the cross pen. They sell it for $23. We all have to buy it retail at $34.
Now, do you have any idea how much some of these things, other than the pen, perhaps actually cost taxpayers?
Well, unfortunately, there are no real reliable estimates on these indirect costs, but a group called the Tax Foundation has made an estimate of the direct costs of Congress. For this year, they estimate $2.8 billion. That's up 20% from last year. Now, a lot of that is congressional salaries, $129,000 a year. But because of the big bureaucracies and committees and subcommittees, they estimate that the direct cost of running the Senate is $4.9 million a senator. The direct cost of running the House is almost $2 million per congressperson. It's a lot of beans.
And very quickly, even President Bush got into the act last week by demanding some changes.
Yeah, well, then Congress said, well, it's your fault too, because and then they said, you know, they pointed out that when Bush travels, he used that big jumbo jet, then there's a backup jumbo jet, then there's military transport, which takes his limousines, and then there's that special communications plane that flies all around. But when you look at the whole thing together, John Sununu turned out to be just the tip of the iceberg.
Susan Lee, thank you very much for being with us. Icebergs, but you're talking about warm weather.
That's right, Paul. We've got some important weather and some very important weather. And if you're sitting down for some pancakes, here's some good news for you. Vermont looks like a fair season for syrup. Frosty mornings and mild afternoons means the sap is running, and it ought to be a pretty good season. But if you're traveling, here's some weather you might want to take note of. Possible airport delays this afternoon in Oklahoma City and around Kansas City due to some possible passing thunderstorms. Birmingham has some fog, as does Charlotte, South Carolina, and also Savannah, Georgia, having some morning fog. Travelers will find generally fair and mild conditions over most of the country today. Temperature at LA, 76 degrees and sunny skies. Denver, mild. A small band of rain stretching from the west coast to the Great Lakes, but relatively light rain along the east coast. Morning showers move out quickly. Afternoon sunshine. Have a safe trip, Paul.
Thank you, Joe, very much. A convicted killer claims he's seen the light and wants a new start in life. He's gone to court to change his name to Howard Bayer, Jr. It so happens that Howard Bayer is the warden's name at New Jersey State Prison, where that inmate is doing his time. The warden, as you might expect, doesn't like the idea, and prison officials dislike it for another reason. The inmate might get the warden's mail. That's NBC News at Sunrise this Wednesday morning. I'm Paul Majors. We'll see you tomorrow.
They're just out of school and deeply in debt.
I'll be paying these loans till I'm 55.
How will your children pay for their education? Tonight on NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
At Alex Audio and Video, we take pride in staying on the cutting edge of fast-moving technology. We believe in investing in the training of our technicians and the maintaining of a well-stocked parts department. We provide our technicians with the latest service equipment and service information. fast returns averaging 3 to 5 days for in-shop repairs is a top priority. Alex Audio and Video is the authorized service center for most brands of home entertainment equipment, with 4 locations to serve you.
Now you can own the car of your dreams at bargain basement prices. Government seized vehicles as low as $100. Cars like Fords, BMWs, Mercedes, Corvettes, and Chevys, plus 4-wheel drives, trucks, vans, boats, and airplanes. Also thousands of other items seized in narcotics raids. Where these auctions and sales are, which are seldom widely advertised. How to bid in person or by mail is revealed in a fantastic tape message. Call this free information hotline within the next 9 minutes. 612-491-1836. That's 612-491-1836.
Watch Entertainment Tonight at 6:30 on KARE 11.
And good morning, I'm Ken Barlow.
I'm Kathy Vara. Next on KARE 11 Sunrise, PLO leader Yasser Arafat is found after his plane disappears in a sandstorm for some 12 hours. Democratic presidential hopeful Bill Clinton can see victory in 3 primaries, but it is still too close to call in Minnesota. We'll explain. And in a surprise showing, Paul Tsongas might be back in the race.
He's back, and so are we. KARE 11 Sunrise is coming up next.
From your 24-hour news station, this is KARE 11 Sunrise.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Sunrise, Wednesday, April the 8th, and we are back.
April 8th already. Yes, it's nice to see you again, by the way.
Nice to see you, too.
My seat hasn't changed much. The big story, of course, the primary, not just here, but in New York, where Clinton won surprisingly over a pretty good margin.
Very comfortable victory there.
Yes.
But the big surprise was, I think, Paul Tsongas.
Paul Tsongas. Geez, you just can't keep that guy down. His campaign, of course, was suspended a while ago, and he picked up nearly a quarter of the vote. In fact, more than a quarter of the vote in New York. He picked up 29% of it. We'll have more on the primaries and more and a lot of other news coming up overnight, including our big story, which is PLO chairman was apparently found overnight safe and sound.
That is our top story this morning. We're going to begin with that. The latest on PLO leader Yasser Arafat. We're going to go to Martha Koloski, who's at the overnight desk right now. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Kathy. Libyan and Egyptian planes searched throughout the night to find an aircraft carrying PLO chairman Yasser Arafat. The plane vanished last night in a sandstorm over the Libyan desert. Arafat was on his way back from Sudan and was just 15 minutes away from landing back in Libya when the plane dropped out of sight. But the Palestinian Liberation Organization is now reporting that Arafat and 14 other passengers are alive and well at a PLO training camp in southern Libya. Kathy?
Any idea at this point what happened to the plane?
Right now we have just learned that the plane did make a crash landing in the Libya desert, and the passengers decided to try to sit the storm out. They were eventually located by an American satellite, and other than some bumps and bruises, the PLO leader is now doing well.
Okay, thanks. We'll update that story again in our next half hour. Thanks, Martha. Now more on the primaries. Bill Clinton has swept primaries in 3 states, including the crucial race in New York. But it's a photo finish in Minnesota's non-binding Democratic contest. Ballots from 175 precincts in St. Louis County have not been reported. Those votes could determine the winner. With 94% of the precincts counted